Number one is the story. Like another reason why we don't want to see like us, kind of a very generic deck template that you get online with you when you have, problem, traction. It's very simple. And so what I tell people to do instead is to tell a very strategic story. So for example, instead of me saying my company, has a great engagement, you can just make the claim. Instead, you could talk about how, you have a customer that signed on, and the first day they opened your app or your product, they use it over 100 times. That's a story that someone told at our demo day because they had an app where you could record dance videos, and they had a dancer, immediately come on that was pretty famous and just kept opening and opening the app. And that was not only memorable, but it was strategic because we all could remember that, oh, okay, this app is obviously very engaging. But they did it through a story, not through just making these claims in a pitch. So that's another thing that I would suggest is finding one really good story to add. And it's not always like how we came up with this idea. And it's not always a customer story. It can be a lot of different stories. And so throughout the session today, I hope to hear like any interesting stories, and I'll be very honest about whether I think it's strategic. And the question to always think about is, how does a story help you achieve your goal? So for example, the engagement story is really important because that was definitely the most interesting thing about that company. They didn't have a ton of users yet. They didn't have, the best, they weren't monetizing very well, but they had just this very, very strong engagement. So the goal of getting invested for them was all around that, like achieving that story, achieving that point. So that's why stories, like too many stories, don't achieve your goal because people just get bored, or they don't really get the takeaway that you're trying to communicate.